Well, it's 0700 on August the 6th, 2024. Good morning and welcome to The Breakfast Show, The Morning Brief. I'm Kayode Kikili here in Lagos.
Welcome to Jeffrey Uzoma. How have you been holding up? And what's been happening where you are as a Nigerian citizen? It appears with this protest is different kettle of fish for different people.
Different strokes for different folks.
And it depends on who you're asking the question. Those who live in Lagos have a different narrative. Those who live in Enugu have a different narrative.
Indeed.
The people who live in Kano have a different narrative. So it depends on who you're talking to. So our job this morning and on the show is to compartmentalize all of this. By the end of the day, we're looking at how to better Nigeria for all of us.
There's some great news coming from Paris. Well, yes, we always start with that dose of motivation for you. Favor Philly is now in the final. Tonight, we'll get to know, hopefully, judging by the time that she clocked yesterday, she should at least win a bronze, right? Nigeria's very first medal. So we look forward to seeing her, Oborodudu as well, who couldn't make it to the final. But of course, she's going to compete for bronze as well, and others. So big ups. I know that there's that debate about what man can do or what men can do. Women can do better. And it looks like they're showing that in the Olympics with the D-Tigress doing great stuff, Favor Philly, even Toby Amusho and the rest doing great things. So maybe this is a clarion call yet again to ensure there's equity, equality, whatever you call it, but ensure that women are given more opportunity, not just in sports, in leadership positions, in organizations, in the home as well, because clearly women bring a lot more to the table. I didn't plan this, Jeffrey. It just happened. What's going on?
Well, if that's what the facts are saying, that's what the facts are saying. Mine is pretty simple. Make sure that over 10 billion naira that we're spending on all of you to head to Paris, we're not spending it for you to go and have a great time and relax. After all, the organizers themselves, they didn't give you that kind of bed you're looking for. Okay, just make sure that that money doesn't go to waste, because the last time we went to London, 4 billion went to waste. We just went there to participate. And sometimes I used to wonder, when you go for such competitions and maybe you come last, what really runs through your mind? So you spend an entire 4 years to watch yourself be the 8th on that lane of maybe 100 meters. It can be quite painful to spend 4 years waiting to be the last person.
But the fact that you went for the Olympics is a different game entirely. You are now an Olympian. Whether you win a medal or not, you can describe yourself as an Olympian, someone who went to the Olympics. By the way, there are millions, if not billions of people that want to go to the Olympics. And something hit me, Jeffrey, quickly. You know, a lot of the funding for this year's Olympics is actually from private hands. So there is more, they're more efficient with the spending. It's not what we used to have in the past, that you get all of the government funding and you spend anyhow. It is private funding. And when you have private in something, you know that they want to ensure that every penny counts. And I know a lot of people have drawn similarities that maybe we should have some more corporate governance when it comes to governance in Nigeria and across board. Because when you have that mentality, you know, there was a joke on social media when it said Nigeria did not meet its revenue target. And someone said, if you were presenting this at an MPR in a bank, you imagine the kind of vitriol, the kind of, in fact, some say you will resign if you're presenting an MPR. MPR essentially is a monthly performance meeting where you put on board what you've been able to achieve as a banker. So if we begin to treat government as that, governors, are you able to meet your revenue target? Are you able to meet the basics that you promise to people? Whether you're a member of the National Assembly, local government chairman, president, minister, there should be that sort of MPR, a monthly performance rating. Were you able to meet your target? If not, so that you go through the door or you do better.
If we do that, a lot of people will not have jobs. Trust me.
Well, if we do that in private sector, why not do that in government?
Because a lot of sentiment comes in when it comes to you know, the public sector. A lot of sentiment comes in. A lot of people want to bring in the issue of quota system, ethnic nationality, tribalism, if you will, religion. So it gets complicated. The requirement for, in some spaces, looks like it looks like the more notorious you can be, the better for your people.
Come on.
At the end of the day, so if we're going to assess people, let's even start from these guys. Some of them, do they really know what the people want? So I've been evaluating statecraft and how people make decisions when it comes to statecraft. At the end of the day, there are two ways to it. Some people come and say, I'm going to make your life better. But I think the best way to make people's life better is not to envision their life for them. It's also to consult them to say, how can I make your life better? And then you improve on their ideas, because it feels like some governors, some leaders, some presidents, some local government chairmen, some leaders in every space within the political space will come up with ideas and they'll say, look, I did this fantastic thing. And the people are wondering, you didn't do anything for me. Sometimes not because they didn't do anything, it's because you did not meet what they wanted, the need they are looking for, what they wanted you to meet as a need was not in the lineup at the end of the day. So it's always good to consult, because this is public.
Yeah.
It's about the public. You need to consult with the people. So, okay, what do you want? And it's quite shameful that at this level, if you go to cities like London and all this, I was just wondering the other day, I said, come, we have natural resources. Like literally everything is on the African continent when it comes to natural resources. But you go to I like to just call them the global north, whether it's Europe or America.
The US.
Most of these cities, just like you turn on your tap to get water, you pay for electricity, for gas, and you pay for electricity. So literally everything is provided for. It's about your ability to be able to afford.
Yeah.
And how much of the social strata you belong to enjoy a certain level of luxury, but the basics are the basics.
Absolutely.
But here for electricity, we have alternative called generator. For water, we have alternative called borehole. Which other one is there again?
That list is literally endless.
And for gas, we have cylinders.
There you go.
When you go to, where do you see cylinders in London and all of those places? So we need to do better.
Food for thought this morning. I think we should start incorporating the MPR, Monthly Performance Review.
No,
wherever you are in government, let us sit down in front of the people, or stand, as the case may be, and present your performance, and then we'll start talking business.
Trust me, put it to the legislature, and you see that bill would die. Natural death.
There's no harm in trying.
Of them.
So what do we have for you on the show this morning? Well, you could say that we have protests across the world, from the UK to Bangladesh, but Nigeria, of course, is our constituency. So we're starting off there as the military reacts to shocking images of young people in some northern states waving Russian flags in protests, as the Chief of Defense Staff, after that security meeting with the president, called it treasonable offense as the violence we see escalate in some parts. And we ask, what is driving this new dimension of chaos? To join us for an expose on the security threats, possible hidden agenda, and the battle for Nigeria's soul.
Well, we will stay with this particular issue, but with a little twist to it, as the security agencies battle to quell these very violent protests in some part of the states and the country, we go to the heart of the issue and examine the economic and security challenges fueling the fire. Can government efforts douse these flames? And what's the role of state governors? Yes, the role of state governors, now local government chairmen as well, in this very storm. Join the conversation as we search for solution to the cost of living crisis and a nation in turmoil.
Absolutely. But that's not all, guys. As always, we are tracking all the reactions and major talking points across social media, and your comments are up right after the top stories on the show in just about a couple of minutes. So keep them coming. Hashtag CTV Morning Brief. And of course, on WhatsApp as well. You see the WhatsApp number on your screen from time to time. So that's the hashtag CTV Morning Brief across social media and on WhatsApp. Send us your videos from where you are. We got lots of videos from Nigerians yesterday, particularly about the protests in their areas. And that is what this is about. So you give us heads up and we go through it, of course, verified, and share it with the world, and even do follow-ups as well. So whether it's about the protest in your area, state of businesses, whether businesses are open or not. I saw the roads were quite empty today, so I was thinking it's because there isn't as much school runs now. You know, schools are on holiday. So there's that part of this as well. But let us know what the situation is like in your area, whether you're in Lagos, you're in Enugu, you're in Katsina, Kaduna, or in Borno, wherever you are in the country, or Plateau, Niger. Let us know via those WhatsApp numbers.
So we will be bringing you up to speed with whatever is happening anywhere around the country while the show is on. So keep it locked right here and ensure you send your videos wherever you are. So if it's happening where you are, as Kayode said, please send us those videos. We'll verify them and we'll amplify your voice. This show is all about you, and we're looking for a better Nigeria.
Absolutely. So, your top stories are up right about now, so stay with us as we'll walk you through the major talking points. It's the morning brief, guys. Let's get started. Top stories on the brief at this hour. The Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, is sending out a warning to people carrying foreign flags in Nigeria to cease from such an act, describing it as a treasonable offense, and those caught will be prosecuted. He was speaking in the State House after a security meeting with President Bola Tinubu in company of other service chiefs and heads of security agencies. The defense chief also dismissed insinuations of a coup in the country, with a reminder that all security agencies will continue to stand and defend democracy. Protesters in Kaduna, Katsina, and Zamfara states took to the streets for the 5th consecutive day flying Russian flags. Shocking. As they demand an end to bad governance and improvement in the standard of living in the country. However, the protests returned violent in Kaduna State, with reports of looting and destruction of government and private businesses, necessitated the state government to impose a 24-hour curfew in order to restore order. While in Adamawa State, Governor Omar Fintiri has described the demands of end bad governance protesters as genuine and says that these issues can best be addressed by the federal government.
Good governance is your right, and that is what we have all sworn to give you. That is what is our trademark in Adamawa State. As a government, we don't really need to protest you don't need to protest to remind us of this sacred responsibility. We are doing our best to cushion the effect of your hardship. We are particularly conscious of the disturbing youth bulge with a growing unemployment rate that is alarming.
Well, let's tell you that the Nigeria police have arrested one Ahmed Taylor, who's alleged to be responsible for the mass production of Russian flags in the Kwanahudo area of Nasarawa local government area in Kano State. Addressing a news conference organized by the Strategic Communication Interagency Policy Committee, the Force Public Relations Officer, Mr. Olumiwa Adejobi, says 30 persons have been equally arrested in Kaduna for flying the flags. He also announced 873 persons with criminal intent who he said infiltrated the End Bad Governance protests have been arrested in Kaduna.
We have arrested one Ahmed Taylor from Kwanahudu in Nasarawa local government area of Kano State for producing in large quantity Russian flags given to young Nigerians to go and fly. Our presence is not to harass anybody, not to intimidate anybody, but for us to protect our national assets.
In the lead up to this protest, the Nigerian intelligence and security agencies uncovered plans by subversive groups and vandals to hijack the process. I have not got briefs about any arrest. Maybe after the conference, if there is any information about any arrest that I can confirm, I will definitely get to you.
Staying with the shocking images of Russian flags being waved by young Nigerians, the Russian government has denied any involvement in the use of its flag by some protesters in some parts of northern Nigeria. The denial was contained in a statement by the Russian embassy posted on its website. The embassy denied any involvement in the use of its flag by protesters, nor the chance for President Vladimir Putin of Russia, adding that none of its officials is involved or coordinates such activities. The state adds that Russia maintains the principle of non-interference in Nigeria's internal affairs and expressed respect for Nigeria's democracy. And staying with the protests, the Kano State Police says suspected sponsors of protesters flying Russian flags have also been arrested as the Kano State government expresses fear of having foreign influence. Also, over 600 suspected looters have been prosecuted in mobile courts.
Going about with the flags of any other country has no business with the Kano State government, and we are not aware of anybody who has the right to do that. Over 600 that have been apprehended. Now, the charges include theft, unlawful assembly, criminal conspiracy, mischief by fire.
And the DSS have also been able to arrest the person or one person who was distributing those flags to those unsuspecting young boys and girls. It's not really something that you can just easily have a position. And if it has a foreign connection, it's even beyond now the state government, because this is now for the federal government to deal with.
Staying in northern Nigeria, this time in Bauchi State, in response to escalated violence in Azari town and its surroundings, the Bauchi State government has imposed a 24-hour curfew in Katagum local government area. The decision follows significant damage to government buildings and residential properties during recent protests. According to a statement from Barrister Ibrahim Kashim, the Secretary of State Government, says due to the deteriorating situation in Azari and its environs, leading to destruction of public property, stealing, and victimization, Senator Bala Mohammed, the Executive Governor of Bauchi State, has approved the imposition of a 24-hour curfew in Katagum local government area in order to contain the situation. The government has also directed all security agencies to address the unrest and apprehend those responsible for the violence. To the nation's capital, where heavy security presence dominated major streets of the FCT Abuja on the 5th day of the End Bad Governance protest. Now, some of the roads were cordoned off as motorists were redirected to use alternative routes. Some protesters who arrived at the MKO Abiola Stadium in coaster buses were dispersed by policemen.
Day 2, we gathered again at MKO Abiola Stadium. The same government of Bola Ahmed Tinubu that went to court to get a court order to restrict our activity to MKO Abiola Stadium. The same government of Bola Ahmed Tinubu also brought talks to meet us the same venue where they have gotten court order to restrain our activity, to limit activity. They still brought us to the same venue to come and unleash talks on us. This morning again, they have also brought us to come and unleash violence on us. And unfortunately for them, their own very police now fire tear gas at the talks that the government brought to come and unleash mayhem on innocent and peaceful protesters.
In the morning around 7. I just come out. I saw some people came from Nasarawa with tires, starting burning tire in this our Carry Junction mosque. Immediately, by the time I saw them, I quickly called the depot of Karu. Before 10 minutes, the depot of Karu arrived, and then we started to stop the people. By the time we finished them, some people just run away to this Yanya.
As you can see, most of those shops are closed. It's due to the protests. A lot really happened in the morning. They are burning tires and even fighting the police due to the protests. That is why you see some soldiers hanging around the area. They are even trying to burn some house here today, but due to the soldiers, they try to block some issue like that. So that's why the soldiers are surrounding us to protect the environment.
And here in Lagos, protesters returned to Ojota to continue their protests against what they describe as the government's anti-people policies. The protesters, which include members of a campaign for the defense of human rights, gathered outside the Gani Farami Park and expressed their grievances as they vow to continue until the demands are met. The same situation in River State, where the protests continued in the south state, where a massive crowd blocked the Port Harcourt refinery junction. At some point, it was almost infiltrated by some area boys who destroyed the traffic control cubicle at JDB Roundabout, Odili Road, Port Harcourt. However, the presence of security operatives put things under control, preventing them from disrupting the peaceful protest procession. And away from day 5 of the protests to the courts now, where the Federal High Court sitting in Lagos has declared null and void the sale of Nigeria Air to Ethiopian Airlines. The presiding judge, Justice Ambrose Lewis Alagoa, in his judgment stopping the sale, ordered that the proposed establishment of a national carrier, Nigeria Air, by the federal government should not be carried out. The judge made the order while granting the relief sought by the plaintiffs, the registered trustees of the Airline Operators of Nigeria, and 5 others in the aviation industry. And outside the country now, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer says violent protesters who had targeted Muslim communities will swiftly face the full force of the law. as it sought to quell days of anti-immigration rioting. The fatal stabbing of 3 young girls in the northwest English town of Southport last week has been seized by anti-immigrant and anti-Muslim groups, with disinformation spread online amplified by high-profile far-right figures to spark disorder in towns and cities. Police chief said they had arrested 378 people since the start of the unrest and warned of lengthy prison terms for those found guilty of violent disorder. And to sports news now, Favour of Philly, as she was in tears after she stormed to the final of a 200-meter race in the 2024 Paris Olympics. She finished with the season's best of 22 points. Well, we wish her nothing but the very best, and we say, bring it home for us, ladies. But what are you saying about the top stories, particularly on social media? Well, Jeffrey joins me as we walk through the major talking points on social media.
Absolutely, Kayode. So let's get straight to it. One of which, of course, the big one, has to do with all the security issues that Nigeria has been facing in the past few days. Protesters flying Russian flags are committing treason. That's according to the defense chief, General Christopher Musa, saying for flying the flag of another country within a sovereign state. Of course, he says it's treasonable offense. So this is how you reacted to that statement. Ubaidi 70 said, I think those flying the Russian flags have done it intentionally in order to frustrate federal government to do the needful and call them to order. People are suffering. The cost of living is unbearable. And let FG act fast to ease the suffering of the people.
And you see, most of them are young Nigerians. Yes. I mean, look at them. And I can wager that majority of them don't even know. They were probably just handed these flags.
If not all of them, literally do not. You know, when I see these images, one of the things I've taken away from these protests, besides the hunger and the hardship and all of that, is this ready, amateur assault mercenary that everybody can pick up because of how the Nigerian state has managed its affairs. Literally, these are young people that should be in school, studying, or be in vocational center.
Or but right have now, some wards or guardian.
These are like reserve team for anything that anybody can pay for. Whether you want them to cause mayhem or you want them to do something peaceful, these young people, literally most of them, know next to nothing about what they are doing. They were just handed maybe some chicken feed, just small money, and they're out on the street. So this is not the intention of the protest. This is out of order.
So it's important to go beyond arresting just the tailor to arresting those who are behind the tailor, because obviously someone must have paid the tailor to make this flag.
Exactly.
Take a look at what Farouk, that's F_Tabawa, has to say about this. Says, I think we all agree, that's the next one, that I think we all agree that it's wrong to fly any flag but the Nigerian flag at protest ground. But this is a twist for this user. But allowing the military to loosely throw around words like treason at the naive actions of a few protesters is a green light for violent crackdown, allowing the protests to die a natural death. Jeffrey, there's been a debate, and it's that when it's peaceful, they're called protesters. But when things go awry, they're called hoodlums. And people have said, now it's a very tricky one. Can you call the people who are looting as well protesters? But no, it's, call them hoodlums and call those who are peaceful protesters. It's a tricky one, definitely.
Even the president in his speech, the third paragraph, I don't know whoever wrote that speech. It's a very tricky statement he made there, that the protest organizers had promised it to be peaceful. Right? When he listed all the places that things have turned violent. So I don't know when it became the responsibility of protesters.
So making them take liability carry the liability for that.
So it's neither here nor there. Anyway, let's see. This is Arewa World, I think so, says, it's now becoming sad, to be honest. The desperation is just too much. In a military regime, probably yet, but in a democracy, I don't think so. So people are debating over this issue of how to properly theme or Christian or categorize or characterize this particular
action, right?
Action by the young people.
Particularly when you hear some of the things they say as well. That's what will drive the point home for you. So it's not just waving the flag. It's some of the pronouncements, calling on the military, calling for a coup as well. But this next user, your Eminence 2, has a very, very interesting take on all of this. Take a look at what your Eminence 2 says. It says, for ages, hotels and other hospitality businesses have displayed flags from various countries, such as the US, British, EU, French, and the rest. It says, why is the government now objecting to the Russian flag specifically? Is Nigeria experiencing diplomatic tension with Russia? I don't understand. Again, you have to properly contextualize
Yes, exactly. It's not just flying the flag. The fact that they are calling on Russia, the fact that they are calling on the military to take over, that is not acceptable. I'll give you what has happened in the sub-region so you can understand why the Nigerian government is quite very uneasy about this. Absolutely. We've seen what happened in Burkina Faso, Niger, neighboring Niger, and other countries around the West African sub-region. So it's not something to play around. So, but people are saying characterize this properly and do your job as well. So I think let's get to the next one, which has to do with the arrest of the tailor by the DSS, the person who is said to have been producing those flags and handing them over to the young people. They said they've been arrested. So, as we said, it's not the first time we're seeing arrest. Look, at some point, it gets boring when governments will come, and we've seen it at the state level. We've seen it at the federal. There are people behind, and we will name names. We never get to hear the names. That's when Nigerians will take this seriously. Joseph Abdul says, arresting a man that is legitimately earning his living, the government should do the needful and end the protest.
And I think it's worth reiterating time and again that
we'll contextualize it for the people.
Absolutely, and then go beyond just arresting the tailors. Jeffrey, there were videos online of tailors mass producing these things. I mean, think about it. If you're doing something illegal, it takes only a naive, a novice criminal to record yourself in that act. So who was recording the video? Who gave them the contract to do all of that? There are lots of questions to ask around that. But take a look at what Sam Guru 78 says. Again, reiterating a point that was made earlier on about hotels flying this flag. Context is very important. But Sam Guru says DSS should also extend this arrest to hotels. But hey, you have to understand the context of this one.
Okay, so I think we've done this context well enough. So it's not just that they are waving flags. So Jasper Aniet Lewis says government should do the needful and stop arresting innocent citizens.
Freedom Lover, that's Living Us E, says, why do you arrest tailors that are doing their business? Is Russian flag banned in Nigeria? And it goes on that how many people have been arrested for producing Palestinian flag? Those guys should release or be released today.
So it's when they get to court, it's their word against the authorities. At the end of the day, the man may just be sitting there and somebody comes and says, maybe it's an illiterate. If the person is an illiterate tailor that just is good with the crowd, say, I have this material, sew it for me. Doesn't understand what is going on. Oh, really? I'm making more money. At the end of the day, makes more money. So security agencies
needs to go beyond just arresting.
Need to go beyond just arresting. Let's properly contextualize it. Let's see, some Nigerian states like Abuja experienced a total blackout as a result of the natural. We've said it before, so let me help Nigerians yet again. The national grid has collapsed. I am saying to you, it will collapse again. So it's not a prophecy because the things that are supposed to be done. So this is going to be like just an update of collapsing. We've spoken to the expert and they said the things that are supposed to be done have not been done. Kyle, you have the first one.
Yeah, Desmond T-Back, that's Desmond T, says, I'm not even sure why what the national grid looks like and how it collapsed, but don't you think this might be a deliberate thing? Well, so that would mean the other four this year have been deliberate as well. The national grid essentially is what ensures that you get power, or power gets to you. So there's a generation, there's a transmission, which then transmits to the distribution company. So it's just like a grid of different lines and cables and the rest. So
okay, Badi Agege, let's see how we can rush this up. Let's every state generate their own power supply, I beg. Well, that is in the works, according to the legislation by the federal government.
So let's talk sports now, at least something to cheer you up. Favor Philly is in the final, 200-meter final. She couldn't make the 100 meters. We'll talk about that later on. I hope that the sports ministry is investigating, or at least the Olympics committee. But this is what Nigerians are saying about Favor Philly, saying congratulations to Philly and Nigeria. I hope we'll go the extra mile and celebrate extra when she wins. Let's say gold, Jeffrey.
That's what we're looking for. Dami Kiki said Favor Philly is smart. She's intentionally maintain her velocity and let Julian Alfred run over her. Favor Philly will definitely study Julian Alfred's strengths and weakness after the footage. Favor Philly, rather I should say, would win in the 200 meters final.
Amen to that.
That's what I'll say.
We really need these things at this time.
Right now that the country is the way it is, we need some bright sports.
There you go. Couple more comments about this. Another person saying she's a gem. Started well, but looked tired in the end. Wish her all the best in the next round. That's tonight, and stay with us here. We'll give you all of those updates and your reactions as well. But that's so much we can take, at least for now, of your reactions. But keep them coming in. Hashtag CTV Morning Brief. We're big on this curious waving of Russian flags. Even in Kaduna, there were China flags being waved as well. So what does this mean? Is there another hand behind the hands we're seeing waving the flags? Stay with us right here. That's our first talking point on the Morning Brief. In a few seconds, we'll be back.
Lunch. Heartburn and indigestion? Try Gesti, reliable remedy for heartburn, indigestion, flatulence, and acidity.
Two-hour meeting with Mr. President, we explained to him in details the current situation on ground since the riots have started. And what we realized is that, yes, initially people said it was a peaceful riot, but we have warned against it because we realize that there are individuals that are willing to take advantage of it to cause mayhem, and we can see clearly what has happened since it has commenced. Criminals have taken over, a lot of looting, a lot of stealing, and all sorts happening. And besides that, we're also aware that I'm seeing, all of us have seen it, where some foreign flags have been flown within the sovereignty of Nigeria, and that is totally unacceptable. We are warning in clear terms, and the president has also said we should convey this, that we will not accept anybody, any individual flying any foreign flag in Nigeria. That is treasonable offense, and it will be viewed and treated as such. So nobody should allow himself to be used by any individual. Also, the issue of coups. Nigeria is a sovereign nation. Nigeria is a democratic nation. All security agencies are here to defend democracy and make sure that democracy continues to strive. We will not accept anyone pushing or taking any action, seemingly or for whatever reason, to want to push for any change of government. Democracy is what we stand for. Democracy is what we continue to defend. The military is going to step in when it is out of bounds. And we can see that for people, subversive elements to push individuals to carry Russian flags in Nigeria, Nigerian sovereignty, that is crossing the red line, and we will not accept that. And those ones who have done that will go in for the books, and they're going to be prosecuted.
Welcome back, and it's time to talk about this particular development. It's a new twist to this entire peaceful protest, where we've now seen young people waving flags of other nationalities on Nigerian sovereign land. So what does this mean? Who is behind this? The CDS, the Chief of Defense Staff, has come out clearly. You can see other chiefs around him clearly saying that, look, this is a treasonable offense and this has to stop. So everyone involved should desist as soon as possible. So that means the military and the law enforcement agencies are not taking this lightly. So we've heard remarks from both the military, the DSS, and the police as far as this is concerned. But let's expand the conversation this morning and bring in a retired Army General, Brigadier General Jonathan Temlong is also the pioneer commander of Multinational Joint Task Force, fellow War College Abuja. He joins us via Zoom from just the Plateau State capital. General, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you very much for having me. Good morning.
General, when you see what is developing in the northern states, especially with this new twist, what are you seeing that lay people like us who have never served in the military are not seeing?
Well, right from the start, I have seen danger danger to our democracy, danger to the national existence of Nigeria as a country, and danger to law-abiding citizens. And that underscores what the calls have been, that it's quite difficult during this period to carry out peaceful protests. Now, when you see young men from around age 5 to 20, 30, carrying flags of foreign countries, a foreign country on our own soil, and chanting that they want the ability to take over, it speaks a lot of, it speaks volumes. First of all, if you know, the flag is a symbol of our sovereignty. And that's why if you watch the Olympics now, any winners of the trophies or of medals, at the end of it, the winner of gold, the national anthem of his country is played. And then the flag of that country is raised above those who got the silver and bronze. It means that he is carrying the flag of that country. Today, when you see young men who hitherto should have been in school or gainfully employed are being used as cannon foders to come out flying the flag of Russia. If you had not told them it's Russian flag, I'm sure some of them don't know that's a Russian flag. Is to say the least something that is frightening. Looking at what has happened just at the Sahel, if you go up north, Niger has actually virtually been taken over by the Russians. So also is Burkina Faso and Mali. And so if the Russian influence is that much, it means then the Russian influence is creeping into this country. And so we should investigate it beyond just people carrying flags, as it were. The second thing is that the tailors who are sewing those things were mandated and funded by some people. Who are those funding them? So I know the security agencies are onto it. Thank God they have arrested the major one, because I saw the clip yesterday and I sent it to some of them. I said, look, and then thankfully they had already arrested them. So it is good that you look at those things. Beyond those, there are those who are funding that. There are those who brought that idea. And what are their intentions? Do they want the Russians to intervene, or are the Russians behind them? The Russian government or the embassy has come out to deny it. Well, you expect that that's what they should do in the first place, because nobody accepts to do that unless he is caught red-handed, because it's against the international conventions. So any country, if they are doing it as part of their espionage, then it has to be within the boundaries of international laws. So they wouldn't even accept openly. But then I think we should go beyond that and do that. Right. But yeah, you want to ask a question?
Yes, I was going to follow up quickly.
Please,
what are the
go
odds?
ahead.
What are the odds, really? And I want you to maybe lay the cards bare for us, because there are different theories flying around. We saw the tailors sewing the flags. It's like a criminal filming, the moments that they were committing the crime. I mean, no criminal will do that in that sense. But we saw those videos being recorded, and they weren't doing like they were doing something wrong. It was like they were just doing their jobs. The video was posted online. Then someone got those flags, handed it over to young people, very young Nigerians, as we could see in those clips, and perhaps told them something to chant. Because a lot of them are probably not politically conscious. Maybe they were handed some money and they were told, this is what you should chant. So the theories flying around is this being sponsored to quell the protests, the End Bad Governance protests? So the genuine peaceful protesters will see this and say, you know what, let's stop the protests, because we do not want things to go awry as they already are. Or this is a foreign influence. Or this is something deeper. I know you must have sat back to take a look at the options. So what do you expect the security agencies to be telling us now, beyond arresting the tailor? What more must they do so that we get the real root cause of this?
Well, thank you very much. I think you don't underrate what these people are doing and what their intentions are. Just looking at the face value and saying that these are innocent people. Unfortunately, the coming of social media in the country came in with a lot of people not knowing where their boundaries are, with irresponsibilities, and you see, criminality in Nigeria has become something that people celebrate. So if you see people taken to court for stealing or for armed robbery, you see them posing for pictures or to be taken. Or if you see an accident scene where there are dead bodies and the rest, the first things Nigerians do these days is to start filming the dead bodies and the accident without even helping them, offering first aid. So it's not something that you just think is from the blues that the trailer is being filmed. I think they are doing it as showing that their prowess, that that's what they are doing, probably even to their sponsors, showing them this is what they are doing. So anybody carrying those flags, as it were, it's not that they just carry it without knowing. Don't underrate them. They know what they are doing. They understand what they are doing. Their sponsors know what they are doing. But I don't think beyond that one, the security might not be able to give you all the details now, because there are some of those things they are trying to get to the root cause of those things. So if they start exposing some of what their findings are now, you know, it will make people to start cleaning their trail. So I think we should. It's enough to tell you us at this moment that they have arrested the tailor, and I'm sure that will lead to further arrests, because those materials were bought from somewhere or provided by somebody. Those who are behind it and those who paid for those things. So somebody who collected them and handed over to those miscreants is going to be known. At least it's not the tailor who went to buy those materials and start showing them. In any case, if you ask some of them, if you ask the tailor what was the color of the Russian flag initially, he wouldn't know. Somebody would have taken the flag and shown him how it was, and that's how he saw it so well. So I think it's beyond just looking at it, say these are people who do not know doing their business. In any case, ignorance is no excuse in law. And I'm sure that the security agencies will dig to the root of it. They will definitely get those who are behind it. If there is even foreign interference, they'll get it. And I don't think government will go beyond up to that extent. If you think that it's being sponsored to counter the demonstration, I don't think no government, responsible government, will do that. Because once it deals with a foreign country, and those countries too, it's easier for a country to deal with a country than to deal with a non-state actor. So if it's the government involved, you understand the consequences internationally. So I don't think the government will ever do such a thing. It's out of the card. So what we should be looking at is those who are behind it, what their motives are, and looking at what has happened in the Sahel. Do they want the replication of that? And if to that extent, what is it? Are they asking for Russian intervention, or do they? And you know, if they are calling for even the military to take over, in those countries, it's the military that took over, that the Russians came in to help them. So I believe that, like what the CDS say, when you are calling for the military to take over, it's a coup, and that's treasonable felony. So I think we must try as much as possible to make sure that people understand and don't cross the red lines, as it were. And definitely they have crossed, because if you see the carnage that is going on in these areas, it's not something that one will ever be happy about.
All right, General, I wanted to find out from you, now that the military has looked at this situation, the way they have looked at it, and all the security agencies have been interpreting it the best way they can, what level of response should they be using as far as this peculiarity is concerned, especially in the north?
Well, in the north, as you see it, if you see what's happening in Kano, Zaria, and even Jos yesterday around Bauchi Road and Zololo area, and Katagum now of recent, Kaduna, you find out that it has actually escalated. But you know, for the military, in a democratic setting, there are procedures for taking over. And the IG has clearly stated it, that when it is beyond them, they will call in the military. But I'm sure yesterday they assessed the situation because the president was briefed. That was the essence of the National Security Council yesterday, was to assess the situation and see the response and then look at how they are going to do to continue. And if the police come out to say that it's beyond them, then the military will be calling. But if it's still within their ambit and what they can do, then they'll continue with the set of response. The military standing by the side to provide the necessary aid to military and to civil authority. The military is doing at the moment. But I think the police must step up, because what you need to do in some of these areas, having my experience in Zaria is that in those sort of areas where you have the city centers and then you have the areas they call Sabongari or the new township, you try as much as possible to separate those who are coming out from the city centers to Sabongari. That's how I did in 2000, and I succeeded in quelling what would have been carnage in Zaria during the crisis in Kaduna. So you need to stop, those hoodlums or those miscreants. These young people are more predominant in certain areas. Right. Try and separate them from where they come in to the areas that there are commerce, because what they do is they're coming purely to loot. So when they move to the areas that the commercial areas, stop them from coming to the commercial areas and deal with them within their enclaves.
All right, General, without giving into any conspiracy theory, you remember during the NSAS, it was predominantly in the south. Lagos got perhaps one of the biggest hits. Now this protest and bad governance is now the level of violence we're seeing as an offshoot of this for people who have hijacked the process is in the north. Is there a reason for this?
Well, everybody who a right-thinking person saw what in the north has been there for long, and I blame squarely the northern elites and our governors. You remember during the Metasini riots, late Abubakar Rimi, the governor of Kano then, said that, and I think he said within the next 5 years or so, they were going to stop the Almajiri system of education and make sure that all the children that were born should go to school, Western education, and make sure that they are gainfully employed or get this thing. He had a lot of resistance. Because these people, whether you like it or not, these are the cannon foders that we use. What are the Boko Haram employ all these ones? You have children roaming around the streets, they call them Almajiris. And we asked during this national confab, I was there, and I asked the former minister, I said, look, why are we even flaunting that the federal government builds Almajiri schools for us? Is it the responsibility of the federal government to build primary schools for states? That's a local government responsibility with states. What have they been doing with their resources that they cannot be able to build and provide for these citizens? People just born children and leave them off the street like unguided missiles. And these are actually unguided missiles. You see them moving out, begging. I asked them, even for the naming the schools as Almajiri schools, what is the toga that they will grow up with? Because an Almajiri is seen as a lowly person up here in the north. Going about, his own slogan is that, may the Lord give you so that you give us. It means he cannot even actualize his own potentials because it depends on you. What is in it, not in him that the Lord has given him, is not realizable because it has to be somebody to give him, and he's contented with life at that. But right now, those who even used to give them the stipends cannot, because we were living a false life. Somebody will just be feeding about 50 or so of them in his frontage, and they sleep there, they provide gas for him. Tomorrow, if they want to attack an opponent or they want to use them for politics, they just set them up loose on you, and then they go and thumbprint and do all whatnot. They unleash terrors on citizens. So everybody saw these things was coming. It's that the insecurity in the north was coming. Where do you think the bandits get their men from? Where do the Boko Haram recruit their people from? It's from all these people who are unemployed, these people who do not school, these people who have no hope. These people who just sit down and see life at it where, and then, you know, the easiest thing again is that, unfortunately, they are under the influence of drugs. Look at the prevalence of, even see the way they are behaving.
Right.
You know that these are not people who are not serious. And I strongly believe that if we do not do anything, see something seriously, starting with the state governors and northern elites, we are just sitting on a time bomb, and that time bomb has been ticking, and it started exploding. So I believe that we must do something. We don't sit down and start taking federal government. Federal government is too far away from these areas. People are blaming President Tinubu for giving autonomy to the local governments. But I think if the local governments cannot function, if they are being strangulated by the states like this, there is no way we will continue but having this sort of people being bred, ready General, to be employed by anybody.
It's a very dire picture you paint, and describing it as a ticking time bomb is really apt. Just ready army, those thousands, if not millions of young people, they're like a ready army waiting to be recruited, as we've now seen playing out in some northern states. There's been another debate about this flag looking like the armed forces flag or not. I would just like you to speak to that briefly. Then we'll dovetail, because you talked about the different levels of government. You've talked about the role of local government, state governments as well. What do you expect to be hearing and seeing from state governments in terms of the approach to this? What a lot of them have been saying is, we'll take your message to the federal government. But in terms of the security and, of course, quelling these tensions, I wonder what will be your take on the expectations from governors. So two things. One, for the people who are saying, well, this looks like the armed forces flag. Maybe it is the armed forces flag. You are in the know. You can speak to that and what you expect from subnationals.
Well, definitely that's not the armed forces flag. And if you look at it, the internet has made it so easy for you that you can just Google the armed forces flag. Okay, look at it even by the left of the president is the armed forces flag. And so that is completely different from the Russian flag, because there is the red is the army, the blue is the navy blue, and then the air force, and then the Nigerian green. So it's quite different from the Russian flag. So the armed forces is the three arms, the branches of the armed forces that is on that flag that you see. So I think it's just people trying to turn logic on its head. It's not the armed forces flag at all they were trying to fly. It would have been easier for them, like up north, like in Kano area, is what they actually see mostly is the army and the air force. The navy is not much, and so it would have been easier for them to have flown the army and the air force flags in any case. So I think that's not this thing. But coming to the role of the subnationals, I think the governors have failed Nigerians. And I'm saying with a lot of responsibilities, and it's so painful to me. You see, what are they doing at their own level to augment what the federal government is doing? They are the ones at the grassroots and not the federal government. For goodness sake, the federal government has got what they call a strategic reserve. It is from those reserves that they send out the rice or the foodstuff and the fertilizer that they have been distributing to the governors, to distribute to people. And when it even gets to the states, the distribution itself is skewed. In fact, the delay. We saw that happen during the NSAS. There were food all over the stores until people dropped into them. They were not given to Nigerians until some of them had died before those things were broken and looted. It's the same thing playing out. And why? And then what are they at their level doing? Because at the strategic level, the federal government has brought this. What are they doing at the operational level and tactical level at the states? Is there nothing they can do to augment this, what they are doing? Because they are getting so much money now. Even if the value is not as much, but they are getting so much money. So what are they doing? If the federal government sends in 20 trucks, and then the state government adds 10 trucks, the local government adds 5 trucks at a level, wouldn't it go around? But they are all relying on the 20 or the 200 or the how many trucks that the federal government sends, and the state governments just sit down and say they will carry their destiny. What are they doing at their governance? Is it just the chief security officer that they're talking about? The constitution that they sought to protect, Section 2 of the Constitution talks about governance, providing for the welfare and security of the citizens. What are they doing at their own level? I mean, even the monies that they are giving them, are they circulating within their states and local governments? If they were, things wouldn't be that bad. I mean, recently, the president even appealed to the northern elites, or ACF, Arewa Constitutive Forum, or to talk to their governors to remain in their states and govern. Because if you do any roll call, it's just because of this crisis, 80% of them would have either been in Kaduna or abroad. Look, just go to the immigration desk and ask them to give you those who the number of travels that state governors have traveled between January and July. And they will tell you how many of them have not traveled out of this country and how long have they been out of this country. Do they go with their bare hand? Is it not the same resources that they carry here and take abroad? Now, how many of them are in Abuja? How many of them actually have spent up to a month consecutively without moving out of their state? I mean, technology has made it so easy that even the meetings.
As we begin to wind down, just a moment, as we begin to wind down, even the president had complained at some point when he met with some governors, or the governor saying, look, when you were campaigning, you were at the grassroots level. Now that you won the election, you're here in Abuja with me. What are you doing here? So even the president has complained as well. But in winding down, I want you to speak to the issue of how the federal government or the state naturally now, when the entire nation as a federation will be able to balance protecting the rights of citizens to protest and also managing this issue of national security. Because right now we are in a dicey situation. People have a right to protest. But on the other hand, if people are looting and carrying out mayhem, the federal government also has a right to protect citizens as well as the state and property.
You see, that is what you call the operational environment. That's the environment with which you do things. And if you assess it seriously, you know that what we have in Nigeria today is quite difficult. It's almost impossible for you to carry out this mass movement of people without those looting coming the side effects of it. It's just like policy formulation. When you formulate policy, you must look at the positive and negatives. And if the negatives are going to be more than the positives, you start thinking of changing that policy or attacking what you think that the negatives will now give you a more positive outcome to the policy. And so I think even the planners of this peaceful protest, as in courts as they call it, they should have looked at it that given the scenario now and the situation on ground, is it possible for you to carry out peaceful protests? If not, then at least in the face of what is happening now, they should have actually reneged and look at what are the other options available to us to look. And I think the federal government and the states too should have actually look at it. What are they going to do at least to ameliorate some of these things? Yes, there are what you can call a quick fix. What are those quick fixes that we can do to actually cushion the effects of this? There are some of the policies that the president reeled out. Some of those things have a gestation period. But within those gestation periods, what are the quick fixes? And you can just imagine it's just now that they have lifted import duties on food and the rest that are coming in. Right. And before those things come in, you know, it will take, sometimes food will come in 1 month for the transportation abroad and the rest, clearing at the ports. And even for the importers who are being used to making humongous monies, to start thinking of bringing down this food price is difficult because Nigerians like milking people. Business people live on that. So I think there are quick fixes. You see, some of these things is not rocket science. We have done them before. Unfortunately, we talk about it, but democracy too allows you.
General, your thoughts.
Yeah, you see, there was when there was a price increase during Abacha's regime, he created what was called PTF. And that PTF did some quick fixes of intervention, and people were seeing them, as against pumping the money to the states. Because right now, what the process that they're getting from the oils now is being pumped to the states, and the states are not doing what they're supposed to be doing.
All right, General, there's apparently a lot to talk about, General. We must thank you for these insights you're bringing as far as this is concerned. They are quite necessary. But we must thank you so much for the time we have. Thank you so much, General, for bringing your insight and your expertise to the program. Pioneer Commander, Multi-National Joint Task Force Fellow, War College, Abuja, joining us from Jos, the Plateau State capital, Brigadier General Jonathan Temlong, retired Army General. Thank you, sir, for your thoughts.
Thank you very much for having me. Have a good day.
Well, thank you, General.